Heroes Reborn Season 1 Finale Project Reborn. Now, the reason I'm titling this as the Season 1 finale is honestly because of the way it ended. I initially thought this was going to be, it was touted the whole time, like, this is a special 13 episode event, that's all there is to it, so I just thought this was going to be, like, the end. It was going to be, like, basically the series finale, because it was just meant to be, like, one little 13 episode season. And then it ends really crazy. And I'm going to save all this stuff because I did end up looking up some things because I was like, with the way it ended, I was like, I can't just go straight into the review. I have to look some stuff up now. So I'll save all of that for the end. So for now, I'll just do like the actual episode itself. And personally, I think it was actually a pretty good final episode. I think the aspects of it, like what the characters ended up doing, was pretty good. Obviously, it focused mostly on Tommy and Malina, and more than anything, I'd say it focused on Tommy. Especially like the second half was really Tommy based, and Malina kind of had scenes kind of flowing in and out of that. But it was really, like, I mean, even from the beginning, Tommy was like the main character. But I thought it was pretty cool. I mean, we got some interesting surprises. Luke actually sacrificed himself. He was the one that stopped the first solar flare from destroying all of North America. So that was pretty interesting. Um, Melina and Quentin have to, basically survive against his sister, who was really mad that she was, left behind because everyone does get, transported to the future. And I thought that was pretty cool. And I'd mentioned it before. I was like, either one of two things is going to happen. Either Quentin is going to die again because it's still his sister and he wouldn't be able to kill her and she'd kill him, or he would actually kill his sister in this timeline. And he ends up killing his sister, which of course affects him because he killed his sister. But I kind of felt bad a little bit because I was like, as soon as he did, I was like, it's fine. She killed you in the other timeline anyway, so it's only fair. But I thought that was a pretty cool moment, and of course Melina ends up surviving that, and the second wave comes in, and then she's trying to stop it. Quentin just takes off. He's like, screw this, I'm going to the building. And then we pretty much get everything else is kind of Tommy and what's happening with him. Emily and Ren looking for both Tommy and Ultimo. They find Ultimo. They find Miko as well, the real Miko. And then we get to see Ren go into Evernow, and he runs into Katana Girl, which, that was kind of cool that she was, at least in this final episode, she wasn't, like, officially gone, but she was still inside of the game, but she's gone now. But he goes in, they work together, they take out the samurai, and they actually, they free Tommy, who uncovers a really awesome ability, to be totally honest. His ability to be in two places at once, I thought that was pretty sweet. And, like, super fast teleporting, and then he just basically makes a clone. That, I thought, honestly, was a really awesome power. That was really cool. So that was pretty sweet. And then him going through time and him figuring out, how to use their powers, his and Melina's powers when they fuse. And we find out that they need a conduit. And he goes through time, and we find out that he's the one who actually saved Noah. And it wasn't Hero like I thought it was. I thought for sure it was going to end up being Hero, just because it made perfect sense. It's like, I can save my friend, but I don't have, we can't show up until like the last minute because of all the whole timeline stuff. And they kind of do it again, where Tommy does do that, and it's like, I did it 1,000 times, and it just didn't work. So it's like, there you go. Like, we need a conduit. And that was pretty cool. I thought, they end up saving the world. We see, a lot of different stuff. They end up, we have, like, Micah and his team. So he's the only person whose name I can remember. But they end up saving the woman. She ends up surviving. And then, a lot of other people come to the hospital. And that's pretty much all we get out of that. A couple other characters, kind of aren't there. Taylor isn't there, but she took off. So it makes sense that she wouldn't be, like, they wouldn't show, like, her freaking out about what's going to happen. She kind of had her moment where she left. And then, we have the future where Erica's like, everything's saved, and she forces Tommy to, make a decision. Like, how are you going to, if you change the past, then you'll wipe out this current future and we'll all cease to exist. And, of course, that forces him into the, to split himself. And so he saves everyone except Erica, chops her watch off, and is like, see ya, and then he takes off. And I thought that was a kind of a cool way to do it. And honestly, I mean, I don't know. I guess the way they did it. I mean, she mentions like everyone would be erased and stuff like that, which I don't think that would be the case. I mean, obviously it's time travel, so it's all just what we assume. But I would have thought that even if they got teleported to the future, because they were born in the present, they would still exist in the future. The future would just change around them. Like they would still, basically, they'd all be in one giant lump of people from the present. Then it would just be like, boom, poof. The entire future is changed now, which it would be something totally different. It might be flying cities and all that stuff. I don't think they would have actually disappeared because none of them are from the future, so it wouldn't change, you know, their existence. But there's, once it's time travel, so there are like a lot of different ways to look at it. Like if you change the timeline, they can't possibly be there whatsoever, stuff like that. So I don't know. There's a lot of different things, but that's just kind of how I saw it. I was like, I don't think they do that because wouldn't the future just change around them because they weren't born, in the future. But, that's how they did it for the show, so it's fine. It's time travel, so it's all theoretical anyway. They could say what they want. And, to a certain extent, because even at this point, even though none of us really know time travel, we all kind of have our set things like, that's believable, but you can't do that with time travel, as if we know. But I like the way that they did it. I would have loved, personally, to have seen him teleport away and Erica, like them actually have a scene where Erica just has to walk around and she's freaked out because she's all alone by herself or something. That, I think, would have been a cool scene, just to see her all alone with no help, no one there. Ultimo killed the other doctor because, he says, like, you aren't going to mess up my work anymore. So he kills him, and then everyone else got teleported away, which I also thought was a really cool scene when Tommy froze everything and he's teleporting people away at different times. And I think my favorite part was when he teleported the two guards away because their guns were just floating in the air. I thought that was the coolest effect, to be completely honest. I just really enjoyed that. And then, he like teleports the katana and then it goes to his other self and him. So that was pretty cool. I really enjoyed it. I thought the power was definitely really sweet. And him getting that sort of revenge on Erica, I thought was interesting. And he, everyone else that's not around him, he just teleports using the machine. And, which, I don't know why he wouldn't do that to begin with, but he didn't. But yeah, I thought that was interesting. And then, of course, we have the sacrifice of Noah at the end of the episode. They stop the final solar flare. They save the planet. And then we kind of get, our 3 months later thing after he passes away. And Quentin's in prison. And he's telling the story about, how Evos are good and stuff like that. And we get to see some of the people just living out their lives. And we get to see both Tommy and Malina kind of doing their thing, which kind of confused me because I was like, well, how is Malina at school and Tommy's not at school? Like, they're the same age. And, like, Tommy and Emily are just like, yeah, we're at the shop. Like, she doesn't own it. She just works there. So, it's not like that's the, they own a business together so they can, not go to high school or something like that. So that kind of confused me. I was like, how in the world is she at school and they're just at work or whatever? I was like, well, it doesn't, I don't really care. And then we get the little cards. And we find out that the cards are from their father. And for whatever reason, he's a villain. And no one can protect them when he decides to return. And then it's like cliffhanger. And it ends. So I wish they weren't back here. I don't know. I'm sure you guys can hear this camera picks up everything. But, when it ended that way, it was like, okay. I was a little disappointed. Because I liked the episode. And I thought it was just going to be done. It was like, they ended it. This is what the characters are doing now. And that's how the series ends. But that's not what happened. It ended on a cliffhanger where it could be a season 2. And this is when I started to do a little research. Because I was like, okay, I wasn't expecting to look up anything. Because normally I don't look up anything because I don't want to even think about other people's opinions. I just want to say mine. But I was like, I have to look up stuff for this finale to see if there's a season 2 and stuff like that. And I didn't have to read comments, but I naturally do. Like most people, I'm just like, I might as well. Like, it's not that big of an influence. I'm not gonna changed my whole idea of an episode because I read some comments. But there currently is no official news. Like, I know there's a lot of things talking about how Heroes Reborn is canceled and stuff. None of that is actually true. I read an article that was done 15 hours ago, probably 16 hours ago at this point, and in that article it had two posts. One was by Tim Kring, I believe is his name, who's the writer and like creator of Heroes, and it was before the finale even came on yesterday, and the post was saying like, hey, there's no cancellation. Like, I know that's been going around, but there's no official cancellation or anything. And the finale that we actually got is the finale that they planned from the very beginning, which once again kind of upsets me a little because with this being a whole 13 episode thing, I thought it would be a nice succinct story and it would end like that's it. Like, that is the ending. And if they wanted to season 2, they could easily have done that without, like, they could have taken this ending off and just put it as the first part, or put it within, the first episode of a second season, because all they would have had to have done was do a time skip, or, start with the 3 months later thing, and just show what other people are doing. We still have our superhero, we still have Taylor, who we didn't see in this episode, we still have in the random car Matt Parkman, who we definitely didn't see in this episode, and of course we have Malina and Tommy, and whatever the other characters are. We still have Micah, like, I'm sure he went back to being Hero Truther and stuff like that, possibly. I mean, I don't know if they would, I'm sure they'd still need Hero Truther. So, they could have just shown all of that at the end of this episode and then kind of expanded on that exactly. Like, this is exactly what's happening and the issues they're dealing with at this point in a season 2, and then shown the card thing during that. But this was how they ended it. Fortunately, and this is one of the comments, and I'm glad I read the comments because the Matt Parkman thing, I didn't even think of, honestly, until I read that comment. I was like, oh yeah, he wasn't in that whatsoever. We didn't see what Taylor was doing, which she would have just been pregnant, but it's one of those things where it was like, that still would have been a cool scene to see. And for Matt Parkman, I don't think it would have worked because it would have been like, oh, he got out of that car, I guess. Nothing happened. But for Taylor, her story was kind of told, and it would just be her living her life and getting over the loss of both her mother, which I'm sure would affect her in some slight sense, and of course, the father of her child. So, it was pretty interesting. It was like, I do wish we got to see, at least her, like with Matt, they would have had to take a bit of time for that to make a lot of sense. But, the way that it ended, it was like, with that being the plan from the start, that kind of disappoints me because it ends on a cliffhanger, and it makes me want more, but it's not guaranteed, and odds are we aren't going to get a second season of this show because the ratings haven't been that amazing, unfortunately. Like, I've enjoyed it personally, but it hasn't exactly had the greatest ratings in the universe. So we probably won't get a second season of Heroes Reborn, or whatever they would call it, because it's, just future installments of Heroes. So it kind of made me mad that they ended, even from the very beginning, the plan was, let's end on this cliffhanger and stuff. And basically at the end it was like, here's what Tommy, Malina, Miko and Ren, and Ultimo, and then, I swear, I wish I could remember the name, but obviously the superhero guy, the 4 groups, like, this is what those people are doing. Everything else is just like, stuff's happening, it's done. Quentin, giving the narration and stuff, he's just arrested. So, it was like, man, it kind of sucks that they ended on that cliffhanger, and it annoyed me a little bit. I did enjoy the episode, but I was a little disappointed that they ended that way mostly because of the fact that they have this cool lead-up, which I would love, because when they mentioned that the twins were Claire's children, of course the question was, who's the father? And that was never answered in the show. And they give that cliffhanger, and it's like, well, of course it makes me want to know the answer, but that doesn't mean we'll get the answer, because the show could easily be canceled, and I wish they just made this 13 episode chunk, and then if it got renewed, then just add on to it, because you could easily do it. It's not that difficult to just be like, alright, saved this, we got the 3 month thing, so we kind of know what they're doing happily ever after, and then boom, season 2 starts, here's a new conflict. That's all they would have had to have done. And that's my biggest issue with them kind of ending on a cliffhanger, because it was meant to be this 13 episode thing, which, you know, failed or success could have been just a 13 episode thing, but now it can't be, and it'll always be these 13 episodes that still manage to end on a cliffhanger. And we still have, you know, the Matt Parkman thing, which I thought, you know, was going to be super relevant, which was clearly the exact opposite, because I was like, okay, he had the last scene of the last episode and nothing at all in this one. It was just like, alright, I guess I was 110% wrong. So, you know, there's just, you know, the little things that annoy me. One of the other comments that I read, and I was so glad that I saw this because I thought I was going crazy, and I haven't mentioned this in a while, but Tommy and Emily as a couple, and Emily's boyfriend that literally had zero explanation and was gone from the show forever. I thought maybe, and I said this a couple of times because I was like, I'm pretty sure they did zero explanation about her getting with Tommy and dumping the other guy. It just happened and they kissed, and I was like, okay, they're gonna have this scene, but the other guy never showed up again. And I said that for probably 3 episodes after the hospital thing. I said that for probably 3 or 4 episodes, like, where did this guy go? And I wasn't the only person that noticed that. I read a comment and they mentioned it, and I was like, thank goodness I wasn't crazy, because I'd forgotten about that at this point. But I did think about it when I saw this episode. I was just like, he still just hasn't shown up. He just vanished, and that was all there was to it. And I was right. They just kind of didn't do anything with that guy's character. And honestly, very generic cliche arc. It was, I mean, as soon as it happened, you could have just guessed what was going to happen there. It was like, alright, they became buddies. Tommy liked Emily. Emily liked Tommy. The other guy was going to get pushed off to the side. Then he'd be mad at Tommy for taking his girlfriend. And that's how he would see it. Like, oh, he stole my girlfriend from me and all this crap. And he was just a douche anyway. But they didn't have that. It was like, alright, we're with you, buddy. We're at the hospital. They go get blood for his mom. And it was like them going to get blood made that guy disappear forever. And he never showed up again. And it just drives me nuts that they did that, because it's such an obvious thing to just toss out. Like, when you have a character that's clearly a catalyst in the beginning of a series, you can't make them vanish like no one's gonna realize that. And I don't know if they forgot, or if it was the actor just couldn't do it, or something crazy happened. I don't know. The actor could have freaking died, and that might be the really sad explanation. I don't know. But I hope that's not it now. But it was just crazy. Like, as soon as that happened, that was like the first thing I noticed, because I knew as soon as that character showed up and they had the stuff where Emily and Tommy got at least remotely close, I was like, okay, they're going to get together. The other guy's going to be really mad at him. And then we're going to have the issue again of him threatening to reveal Tommy's abilities. And personally, that was the one thing about that aspect that was a little bit different that I was looking forward to seeing, because normally it's just like, oh, the main character likes the douchey character's girlfriend. They normally don't become friends either. That was a little bit different as well. So it's like the guy actually liked Tommy because he thought that Tommy made his dad disappear. So it's like, that's a little bit different as well. So I like that idea, and he was kind of friends with Tommy, and then he would have been really mad at Tommy, like he betrayed him, because Tommy and Emily would have kissed. And I was like, okay, I'm kind of looking forward to this. Slightly cliche, but slight aspects. Superpowers and, you know, an actual friendship formed between them, at least a little bit. And then it was like, gone. Forever. And it still bothers me a lot. Clearly, I'm ranting about it, but it was just something that really annoyed me when that happened. And you know, I wasn't the only person that noticed, so I was really glad I read that comment. I felt like some form of immense validation, because I was 100%, because I never say like this 100% happened. I always say like, maybe I missed it, maybe I didn't, just for the benefit of the doubt. But that was one of those things where I was pretty sure, I was like, I'm pretty sure he just vanished without explanation, and he did. So that's random. That just that has nothing to do with the whole cliffhanger stuff. That just really bothered me, and I wanted to talk about that. But the way that they ended it, the only reason it bothers me is because I don't think we'll get a season 2. If I was super confident, honestly, even if I knew we were getting a season 2, I'd still be a little upset with the cliffhanger. Just because it was supposed to be like this 13 episode thing, and the fact that I read that comment that said this is how it was meant to be from the start, that's like the main thing that bothers me. If it was like, oh, they found out with enough time that they were going to end up getting a season 2, then I wouldn't be that mad about it. I'd be like, okay, well, they changed it because they knew they had a lot of ratings or whatever, so they were able to switch out like the last couple of minutes of the final episode, and then poof, because all it was like a solid 5 minute and 5 minute clip, and that's what set up the whole cliffhanger for a second season. Because without that, it would have just been done. They still would have had the Matt Parkman thing, which once again, considering this was the way that they had it ended, that that was the point of him being trapped, was something for for a volume 2. But I don't know, it just bothered me. Like, I liked the whole episode, but it was really just the ending that kind of upset me. I would like for us to get a season 2, like I said, but ultimately, it's like I enjoyed the episode, just kind of disappointed that they, the whole time with this whole thing being like, oh, it's a 13 episode thing, still cliffhanger. But episode content alone, aside from cliffhanger, I did enjoy this one. I thought it was pretty cool. Character like Mike and his team, they didn't do what I thought they would do, but they weren't really the main characters, so I'm not surprised they ended up just like, oh, we're helping people at a hospital. Wasn't too shocked by that. Like, it was surprising, but I was like, yeah, they aren't that important, so I didn't really care. I was like, I could see them doing that with those characters, because like they aren't the most important. But I did like this finale. I hope we get a season 2, but just because of what I've read, I don't think we will, which makes it really suck with the whole father deal. But I definitely want to know what you guys thought about this finale, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. If you're watching this, odds are you want a season 2, but I would love to know if you want a season 2, what you thought about the cliffhanger, and what I mentioned about this being the planned ending from the very beginning, despite being this 13 episode event. Cliffhanger ending from the start was their idea. Definitely want to know what you guys think about that, so please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.